Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another BRAP. It is Wednesday, September 30th, and got a lot to talk about. Some, I don't know. I don't know if it's interesting or not, but some, I don't know, debate over a certain job posting at Sony PlayStation. Some people suggesting that this means that PlayStation is, in fact, going multi-plat, maybe bringing the whole slate to Xbox. We'll talk about that here in just a bit. But with me this evening, I do have returning guest, Creative Kofi. Kofi, welcome back to BRAP, sir. How are you?
I am fantastic because I've been able to play the most games I have played in maybe 20 days. It's been a healthy rotation of Astrobot. I just returned to that for the Platinum. And then I just started New Game Plus with Stellar Blade and getting some of the extra boss rush bosses. And I've also been playing an awesome RPG, tactical RPG by Vanillaware called Unicorn
Ooh, really?
Overlord. Um,
Oh, Unicorn Overlord is good.
it's so good. It's so good. So I
Oh
bought
my
this game
god.
at launch back in like March of 2024, and I was like, there's a lot going on. I'll come back to it. And now I regret it. I should have played this game a year ago, 18 months
Yeah,
ago, whatever, because it's that cool. I just got through like the first country, and now I'm going to I think it's called Drakengard in the south.
yeah.
Um, so that's been really special. And then there's a fourth game I've been playing. I've been really busy. What is the fourth game? Oh, I finished Expedition 33. I did a lot.
Okay,
I didn't
okay,
play.
okay, okay, Kofi, we
Yeah,
need to chat, sir. Because I
yeah,
think the
we
last time we
definitely.
had you on the show, I think Expedition 33 had already been released.
Yeah,
I don't think you had played it just yet.
correct.
And I think we may have discussed how the combat turn-based combat, the combat menu I think is very much influenced by none other than the Atlas gods.
Yeah, yeah. I
What
agree.
did you think of the turn-based combat in this game?
Okay. The first thing I want to say before I get into the details is because I guess it's Sandfall as the developer, because this is their first game and there's a lot I feel going on with enemy animations and um, reading enemy attacks, parrying, dodging, um, jumping. The execution is phenomenal. If this game had come out and, you know, had frame stuttering issues, frame pacing issues, reading enemy frames would have destroyed this game. I don't think it would have gotten a score above, 4 because I would say the last third of the game, if you're not parrying sometimes, you're dead. And for them to get it right with so many different enemies doing all these crazy types of attacks, it's really, really special. Um, from a mechanic standpoint, I love that Expedition 33 has done this because it does remind me of a Souls type game, Neo 2, Demon Souls, where getting the timing right is really rewarding. And if you parry all the attacks, you get a super attack back. I like that a lot. I will say this though, I don't necessarily want this mechanic to be carried out in many other JRPGs. I would love for Sandfall to have maybe their own style of game where they either create spiritual sequels or spin-offs that share these types of mechanics. That's fantastic. But I don't think it's, oh my gosh, I want every, Final Fantasy and I don't know, other JRPG to now have real time counters and blocks just like them. Um, I think there are some uh, different types of RPGs that can take advantage of receiving damage. And um, at least the way I saw in Expedition 33, as you got through the end there, everything required a perfect parry. And I feel like that's more limiting as opposed to um, I don't know, building around whether it could be, you know, having I'm trying to think of something because they do have a lot of pictos that allow you to like gain AP on dodge, gain AP on damage, but I just remember it came down to one missed parry could really just kill you, or one missed dodge could really just kill you. And I think there's other games that have used fighting strategy in different ways, and they have been unique in their own way too. So I would say Expedition, sorry, that was a long-winded statement because I do really enjoy the game and a lot of things about the combat. I would say great, but I think it's a unique lane that can exist on its own, and I don't necessarily like want this for every RPG or JRPG moving forward.
And the reasons why, so just kind of, just so I understand. So you don't want this for every other you don't want this to be copied with other JRPGs because of some of the nuances in the turn-based combat, like the parrying, things like that. Like
Yeah,
you're right. Like if you miss a parry, like you could be SOL.
yeah,
There's also, I don't want to say there's a lot of moving parts on the screen, but there is kind of, right, when you look at the the um the hints that the enemy types give. A lot of some of it's rhythm based. Some of it is, some of them are visual cues. So there's a lot to pay attention to, and I really like, I never, when I figured out how to play it, because I was looking at like the animation and stuff of the moves by the protagonist, and then I realized, well, no, I need to focus more on these subtle cues from the enemy types that I'm fighting, because each one of them has these different things they do to kind of cue you in what they're going to do, and what you can parry and what you should dodge.
mm,
Um, and so, do you think that's part of it too? Where, because I do believe you really do need to pay attention at least to some of these visual cues, some of these some of the, there's actually there are audio cues too. I don't know if you noticed that.
yeah.
With some of
Oh,
the,
yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so those are things like the visual, the audio cues. That's where I'm like, okay, this game is, this is where I liked their interpretation of turn-based combat in Expedition 33. Um, Inputting those visual audio cues so that you know when to parry, maybe when you should dodge, because you can't parry everything as much as
Yeah,
I tried. Sometimes it's parry, dodge, parry, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because you could dodge much easier. So you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm not gonna die here. I'll just dodge.
so is it that aspect of those visual cues, and kind of maybe more focus on the enemy movement, and memorizing the different audio and visual cues that you don't want JRPGs or
Ooh.
other RPGs to copy?
So, I'm gonna try to lay out another game that I love the combat with, but is a little bit different than Expedition 33. Though I apologize because this title was not released in America, but it has real-time defense and real-time attack patterns. It's called Last Ranker. Came out on PlayStation Portable. It was, I think, published by Capcom over in Japan. And the reason why I bring this up is that game, just like Expedition 33, required you to block, you could counter, you could have different levels of block. But I think what made Last Ranker a little bit different in its own space is um, when you blocked, it was defense through attrition. So you would always take damage unless you were doing using a skilled block. They had like a shell. So let's say like a regular slash would do 30 damage, but if you blocked it, it would only do like 7. And to me, that I guess, when somebody hits you and you have a shield up or some sort of buckle up to block, you're gonna take some nicks, you're gonna take some chip damage. And I really appreciate them doing something like that, as opposed to saying be perfect. Um, and like little uniqueness like that to me says Expedition 33 has a lane, and I really appreciate what they did because they executed it incredibly. But also, Last Ranker has a type of system that I really want. Another thing that I love about Last Ranker is it uses what we all remember as the ATB system, just like something like Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, where just standing still over time, your enemy gets more turns, right? Or your team gets more turns. Um, and that uniqueness between the two tells me that just because Expedition 33 has perfect parry, not everybody needs just that. But because they did it so well, I think they deserve a space at the table, moving forward. I know Sandfall obviously is going to make something else, and I doubt they're gonna completely get rid of these incredibly executed mechanics. So, yeah, I would just say the best way I guess I can only compare is through other turn-based games I've seen do it differently. Something like that.
Would you say that this is your game of the year?
Oh shoot. Shoot, man. That's going to be really hard. I'm looking forward to some games that are still coming out this year. As you know, I am a Legend of Heroes fan. The original game in the Trails series will be out in September. Even though it is technically a remake, it will be hard for me to put that above. Another game that's competing right now with Expedition 33 is an RPG by the creator of the puzzle series called Nine Doors. It's called 999, and he had a sequel called Last Escape, Virtue's Last Reward. It's called Last Defense Academy, and it came out in April. I think it actually came out like the day before Expedition 33. And the story basically, and it's very much like it reminds me very much of the series like Danganronpa. For those that don't know, it's basically people who are trapped in some mysterious place, and people who are there begin killing each other. But the premise in Last Defense Academy is to collaborate and not kill each other. And when the first 100 days are done, the story ends, but then has many, many, many other well-written narratives and endings for it's not really create your own adventure, but it's looking at the pathways of different decisions you could make. But all of them are scripted out, voice acted, and it could take you. I mean, I haven't done all the endings, but there are actually 100 different endings. That game right now, because of their ambition and how much detail, like for example, when I played the first 100 days, and I was like, okay, I'll go back and see what it's like to go back to day one. Then when I realized that day one, it wasn't the same thing at all. Like there was no similarities with day one in my second run through to the first one. And like Zach did, and I'm seeing new scenes and art and new bosses, and I go, like, how can I not praise this game for really taking a unique step with trying to have original storylines 100 times. So it's neck and neck between Expedition 33 and Last Defense right now. Of course, I'm probably going to be playing some Death Stranding 2 soon, so that's going to compete as well. We'll see. We'll see. What about you? What's your running for game of the year?
I mean, Expedition 33 right now. I mean, that's my game of the year. And we talked about the turn-based combat and just some of the visual audio cues, the rhythm to it's like a dance in some ways, even though it's turn-based. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a little bit of a dance, right? Even being turn-based, because you have to, they're like literally visual audio cues, timing, and I'll tell you this, and you have to learn how to parry in the game. Like it's a must. My third playthrough of Expedition 33, and this is why my game. There's very few games that I will do 3 playthroughs, right? Actually, I'm 2.5 playthroughs in, because my second playthrough I was playing on PlayStation 5, and I had basically so I beat it on PC the first time. Okay. Then I bought it on PlayStation 5 because I'm like, you know what, I want to get the trophies, and I love the game. I forgot to cloud save my save file when I traded in my PS5, and I was like 50% through the game, and I was like, and then so then I had to start from scratch, which wasn't too bad. Those
journals?
But here's the thing, wasn't too bad, because I flew through everything, all the journals, and then I knew like at that point, like playthrough number 3 or the half. Well, I guess it's
your third time starting.
My third time starting. Yeah. At that point, like I had the parrying down. I mean, I was just, it wasn't fair. Like to play it at like normal mode, and I probably should have adjusted the difficulty, the highest difficulty setting. But playing on normal mode, like I was going, I because I could remember all the I can remember the different movements of the enemies and when to parry, when to dodge, and I had all the timing down. It's just I just ran through enemies.
Yeah. Now it
Um,
would be crazy if on a higher difficulty all the animations were different.
that would be crazy.
That would be like, oh shoot, like it's not doing it. You know, they got feints. Like that's the thing in last ranker, the enemies will like swing at you and right before. I mean, it's kind of like fighting the super bosses. I don't know if we want to talk about spoilers in E33, but I've seen the super bosses attack, and it's like, okay, like you need to have seen it before you're gonna perfect parry that thing. But if
Yeah,
that
and
changed, that would be crazy.
there's a boss called the Duelist in Expedition 33. I don't know if you remember him. Carries two swords.
Oh yeah,
Um,
at the Forgotten Battlefield.
the Forgotten Battlefield, like Mael falls into that big pit. You see all those
Yup,
bodies. The
yup.
Duelist. The Duelist actually is so. Verso refers to the Duelist is like, oh, like the one person actually killed all of these, all of these soldiers, but I haven't seen him around in a while. And then you find out like the Duelist actually, you actually the camera pans to the Duelist. You actually see the Duelist. Duelist sees you in the Forgotten Battlefield, and then you eventually get to the Forgotten Battlefield. You cross over a bridge. And there's that cutscene where Mael falls to the pit, and you see all
Yeah.
the other bodies there. It's interesting. The Forgotten Battlefield really reminded me of like a World War I battlefield with the trenches and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that your favorite boss?
probably,
Okay. I'm trying to
and
think of like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
only because he reminds me of a Souls-like boss.
Uh,
He's ginormous. I think he has two stages.
yes, because he starts stabbing his sword in the ground, and the attack patterns are different. I felt like didn't he? Yeah, he definitely had two phases.
And so that was reminiscent of a Souls-like boss battle to me. Now, the third playthrough when I fought the Duelist, it wasn't even fair. I was like parrying almost everything. It was not fair. It was I smashed. He just got his ass handed to. Like it wasn't fair. So in that regard, I probably do need to step up the difficulty level in Expedition 33. But back to your question about Game of the Year. Yes, Game of the Year. This is the other game. This is the second game this generation that I have gone back and said I will play this a third or fourth time. The only other game to do that has been Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm.
And Baldur's Gate 3, in my opinion, might be the best game this generation.
Yeah, I would be comfortable saying that.
Yeah. Want to give a big shout out to Everborn Saga. What's up, Everborn? Says, BRAP interested to continue the conversation from the Discord earlier regarding the risk or lack thereof on staggered release strategy. So we were having a conversation, GCP Discord earlier today about whether or not PlayStation may, make sure I remember everything, Everborn, whether or not they would bring some of their older IPs, like some of their tentpoles, like Spider-Man, God of War, that were released, a few years ago, and maybe have hit that point where they've sold enough where maybe getting a little bit extra coin for PlayStation might make sense. But I could talk a little bit about that later on, Everborn. But I'm also playing Death Stranding 2. So that's another potential contender for me for Game of the Year. Slow-mo often jokes on the show never go full Kojima. I disagree with that now. I think and I don't know, have you played Death Stranding 2?
I have not. I hope I do soon.
Did you play the first one?
I'm still in the middle of a playthrough for it. That is the thing holding me back.
Okay.
From playing 2.
Please finish Death Stranding 1. Go to Death Stranding 2. I would love to get your thoughts on Death Stranding 2, because they're just certain creative things that Kojima, I feel, can only get away with.
I can still remember the cutscenes from Metal Gear Solid 2. With,
Those were wild.
they were wild.
They were wild.
They were just like, what is going on the television right now? But like you said, only Kojima.
Yeah, only Kojima. I mean, you know, we had this conversation with Game Lodge a couple weeks ago about Kojima and what his legacy means to the industry and where he ranks amongst creative creators in the gaming space. Because I said to him, I said, you know, when I think of creators in the gaming space, there's two individuals that come to mind: Kojima and Miyamoto.
Mm.
And then as we started talking a bit more about specific creators, then we went to developments or studios, development studios, the BioWares. But then I forgot about Miyazaki. Like would Miyazaki be up there and his, you know, with the, you know, creation of the Souls games?
That's true.
Because out of that was born a genre.
Yeah,
Of
Demon Souls is like one of my
Souls-like games. Yeah.
favorite. I don't know what's my favorite of, but I guess my favorite Souls like, and I always compare everything to that game. I completely agree.
The Demon Souls remake was really good on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
That, I mean, because the first Demon Souls was like almost unplayable.
It's so funny. It had it had horrible frame pacing. You know, I loved that game. I loved that game though. I imported the European version because it wasn't available in the States. And like I remember like walking across the bridge in the beginning when the dragon blows up everything, and I'm like, the frame rate is like 10 right now. Like, what is going on? And I still finished the game, and I still use that as like the ambiance and the pressure and, you know, the monsters that I'm looking for. I don't know why, man. But I agree, that game, whew, it ran so bad.
It did run pretty bad. So this is Bender String says this is great. This is what I love about Kojima games. Hey BRAP, I have to admit, when Higgs broke the fourth wall and spoke to me directly, it was unsettling to me. Well, I mean, Higgs is an unsettling character, voiced by Troy Baker, which I think Troy Baker is one of the most talented voice actors. His voiceover work, or his voice work in Indiana Jones, was just I mean, he sounds like Harrison Ford.
I haven't played that one.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. But Death Stranding 2 is like I said, it's definitely in the running for game of the year. I don't think it's gonna, and it's gonna depend on, it's gonna depend for me. It's gonna depend on, you know, how I feel about the game after I complete it.
Yes.
But for what I've played so far, it's still Expedition 33 for me. There are things in Expedition 33 that touched me emotionally that Death Stranding hasn't done just yet. And I don't want to give away any spoilers.
Right. We don't know.
Expedition
Somebody might be playing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you probably know what I'm referring to.
Yes. There's a certain like you said, I don't want to talk about spoilers, but really, there's a certain plot point in the story, like the major plot point, that I didn't know how it was going to be handled. I've seen, at least in memory, I've seen one other game with a similar plot point to what Expedition 33 did, and I thought it was handled, you know, like not so great. But I felt like Expedition, they actually carried it out pretty well. You know, I thought I was going to be disappointed, but I ended up not disappointed. So that was kind of cool.
So, hey, what's going on, Nate?
Hey,
Nate's here. What's going on, man?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can, Nate.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we're discussing Expedition 33, Game of the Year, stuff like that, Nate. But I'm playing Death Stranding. So back to Death Stranding 2, Kofi. I think it's a better game. I think it's better than Death Stranding 1 when I played so far. but we'll see. I mean, it's definitely one of the better games I've played this year for sure.
Can't wait.
Yeah, Kojima just does some things that, again, I don't know that other creators could get away with. There are some interesting. There's an interesting cast of characters, as the case in most Kojima games. But there's Doll Man, and Doll Man's interesting. There's some Metal Gear references in the game, which I thought's kind of cool.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, it's a great. It's funny because I'm not really big into, mining and collecting resources in games. That's just not what I care to do, and like I didn't care for it in oh my god, what the hell's the Todd Howard's last game, Starfield. I didn't care for that in Starfield, where you could build like your outpost or whatever. But in this game, I don't mind actually, and probably because gathering materials to build roads actually benefits you while you're playing the campaign and working on some of the main or side objectives. But I've actually found myself actually just doing that, just mining resources to build roads, which is kind of interesting, and I've actually enjoyed it. Like it's channeled my inner SimCity 2000. Which I used to play that game 20-something years ago and put so much time into that game.
Please don't put a year on it. You said I used to play that 27 years ago. God, thanks. Because I played it too, man. Oh my gosh.
I mean, SimCity, I was addicted to it.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I played on PC for like I don't know, maybe I don't say a year, but probably a couple months. So I mean, it's, brings back those SimCity vibes where you have to manage, roads and infrastructure and raise taxes, lower taxes,
Yeah.
Oh man, SimCity was great.
It was.
So Nate, have you finished Death Stranding 2? Or are you still playing?
I actually just got the platinum yesterday.
Oh, that's right, you did. Congratulations, sir.
Oh yeah, congrats,
platinum. Man. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Game of the year, Nate?
It would be if I had played Expedition 33.
Oh wow.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. I really enjoyed my time with Death Stranding. It's an amazing game. Like you said, a crazy set of characters. Like nobody does exactly what Kojima does. But just for me personally, it didn't surpass what Expedition 33 did for me. So it's definitely still my game of the year by far. But yeah, Death Stranding 2 has been incredible. Just like you said, it's hard not to, when you play it, it's hard not to give things away because like everything is like important in Death Stranding, like every little thing. But yeah, I mean, graphically, obviously, people have seen how incredible it looks. It plays flawlessly on the PS5 Pro. The story has been incredible, start to finish. And like you said, the building and stuff, I did a ton of it, right? When I got to the end and I posted that I beat it, and I got the platinum, people were asking me, what was your final, your Porter score? And people were like, man, you got like 1 point something million likes or something. And I'm like, well, yeah, when you play the game and you build the roads, like those are like the major areas where you're going to get likes and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, just like I said, that whole connected world, like you're connected, but it's not multiplayer, is great, to come by and drive by some of my friends' things that they've built in their world. And as your strands get stronger, their things appear in your world more often. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely up there as a game of the year contender. And I've seen some people that have played both that have said that Death Stranding took it over the top for them. So there's definitely room for it being a really viable choice for Game of the Year. So yeah, I think it's up there. Um, Obviously, we had Split Fiction as well,
Good one.
which was incredible. That blew my mind from a level design standpoint. And then a lot of people, the one that I haven't played, that a lot of people absolutely went crazy over at the start of the year was KCDC 2, so Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Um, I know somebody who was just going back and forth with themselves over whether they felt Expedition or KCD. So, yeah, I mean, it's been an incredibly strong year. Um, but yeah, like I said, that game in and of itself has been a great experience, and I'm glad I went for the platinum. I didn't get the platinum in the first one, as I really wanted to push myself for the platinum in this one, and I felt like the trophies were really reasonable as well. Uh, I could have gotten it sooner, but I kind of got stuck. So there was some aspects that stick out more that you notice if you do go for the platinum. Um, Something I felt like something that annoyed me mainly because I noticed it's something you'll notice if you go for the platinum, and some people will run into the issue, some people won't. It just depends on what you did. Um, but like some of the missions are hidden, um, and the only way to unlock them is to do other missions that then make them show up. So that was kind of like something I felt like it was unnecessary to hide them. Um, so I was running low on elimination missions, elimination and destruction missions, and I was trying to do a bunch of stuff, and I got stuck on this trophy for like 3 or 4 days, trying to get it done because I just could not figure out what I needed to do to unlock like another one until I finally found a Reddit thread where someone finally figured out one that didn't have, and I went and did the mission, and it showed up the new destruction mission, and I was able to
Hmm.
complete the trophy. So
Mm.
there are very few of them in the game. There's more than you need, but like I said, if you're not doing certain ones, you're not going to unlock them, which it seems like they're tied to recovery. Doing certain recovery missions make the elimination missions show up. So that's something where I definitely could have cut the time significantly that I had to spend to get the platinum. So again, this is why we always tell people, right? Like, depending on how you play a game, it can either increase how much you love a game, or you can find a flaw.
Can I
Um, you know,
can I ask you a
yeah.
quick question, and then I'll bring up something about Expedition 33 since we've all played it. How many hours
Mhm.
did you clock in Death Stranding 2 to get the platinum? Just curious.
I'm a I'm a realistically say it's over 200,
Oh shoot!
but
It's like that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. That it's high. It says higher than that, but I definitely like for the last part. Um, I had to wait for the standard missions to refill. Um, because I had done everything I could for the very last person I needed to 100%. And if you double check the timing for them, it's like 6 real world hours. If you have it cut in half. Otherwise, it's 12 hours. Now, again, that's not something you'll notice while you're playing the game because there's so many people to unlock and there's so many people to do missions for. And like I said, certain missions unlock more missions. So again, this isn't something you'll notice unless you're like really down to the nitty gritty, like I was. So
And
yeah, it was definitely over 200, but my time shows over 3. But there was definitely times where I was like playing till I fell asleep. So.
you wake up. What was I doing?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I just wanted to bring up really quick about Expedition 33, since we're talking about nitpicking and Game of the Year potential stuff. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily count this as a negative against an Expedition 33, but I remember, um, you know, the game has a lot of pictos, and for people who haven't played it, pictos are basically individual skills that can boost a specific action or stat that your character has. Every picto has a name that generally describes what it does. But I lie to you not. There are maybe 150 of these pictos. And sometimes when I am customizing a character, I'll say, oh, I'd love Mael to, I don't know, gain powerful when she's boosting your defense. That would be great. And I will go into the picto menu and look at all the words and forget what I was even doing. And I will literally be looking for like,
Yeah.
because the descriptions were so similar, like powerful on defense or speed on powerful or greater shell and powerful on shell. I'm like, what was I looking for? And how much should it cost again? And I had the perfect build in my head, but now I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes trying to figure out what it was exactly. That talking about like getting a build for some of those, strong bosses at the back half of the game. I definitely spent some time taking screenshots of certain pictos that I felt like I lost, but it was just me being, I don't know, me being extra tired or not noticing the picto I was looking for was right in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I know some people who did kind of get, I guess, lost in the sauce of that with the pictos. Like there were a ton of them, and I know some people were saying like they wish they could organize them better for
Yes.
certain things, so that like they could group certain ones together. So it's like all the pictos that do shell or all the picto, however
Yes.
you needed to, it made it easier to locate. Um, but yeah, like you said, I get why you said it's not also something you're saying is particularly negative,
Yeah.
because that's actually how expansive the the nature of the strategy is in that game, right? How you
Yeah.
can really get some insane combos going, especially when you really farm up some of that Lumina.
Mhm.
And I remember by the end I think everybody on my team, I farmed like crazy, and
What?
I had over like 1,000 Lumina or something
No.
per person.
Per
Yeah,
person?
yeah, per person.
So he's like,
Yeah,
I just want every picto. That's
yeah.
crazy, my guy.
I was a dangerous man by the end of that. Uh,
You were OP.
Yeah,
yeah,
I had like 250 for most, but I really like CL. So I think I had CL at like
yeah,
320 or something like that. Wow, but 1,000 per.
yeah.
That's wild.
I went crazy in the end because I was like, I'm not playing around when it comes to fighting the super boss later.
Yeah.
And like whether I hit or got hit, you could see like it looked like a paragraph of pictos on the side of the screen.
Oh, right. What
Like,
triggers? You triggered
yeah,
everything.
what triggered? Yeah.
That's
So
so funny.
that was a good old time. Just getting super super strong
You
and
said a paragraph of pictos. Jeez,
yeah,
how many? That's insane.
You
Like
activated 150
and you know
pictures.
what? You're not even exaggerating, by the way. Like that
no,
was
no, not at all.
the paragraph of pictos, but that's insane. I mean, who was the super boss? That's what's his name?
I don't know if we want to say, but we can talk about those attacks and how crazy they are.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know if that's a
he's
spoiler. We can name him, I guess. I don't think that's a
Oh, okay.
spoiler, right?
yeah. It's not really a spoiler,
It's not really a
but
spoiler.
yeah, he is insane.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
Oh
mean,
my
it's
god!
like,
Did you go in there just wreck shop?
oh yeah, I mean I two shotted him. So
What?
you
You
two
two
shot
shot
at
him?
him
Jesus!
with Stendhal or with Mael.
yeah, I
With my
specifically didn't. Yeah, with my L, I specifically didn't update my game when I heard about them putting out the update. I
Oh,
stopped my game from updating so that I could
Oh,
main
okay. So you yeah.
the
Okay.
OP like Standall,
wow.
EOP,
because
yeah.
a lot of people didn't realize it wasn't just Standall that they nerfed. It was so they dropped Standall by 40%. And then they also, the thing that made her crazier was that the weapon everybody was using was also broken. And they also changed that. So the weapon is supposed to double elemental damage, but
Yep,
it was
yep.
doubling all damage.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So that's
so
that's why you were two that's why you two shotted them. That's insane.
yeah, two shot. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's still other ways to do it, right? And that's
Yeah.
what I was explaining to somebody who did it after me. And they were like, oh, my game updated. And I was like, look, don't sweat it. There's still 15 other ways to, farm up some Lumina and really break the game and go crazy. So there's
We
still ways to
Yeah.
definitely do
and
it.
Nate, we need to chat when I get back to playing my third playthrough. of Expedition 33. I need to chat with you and figure out this ultimate build. I think the most damage I ever had with Mael was like over 300,000 or something. And I remember this is my third playthrough, and I remember there was the boss that I encountered. I forget who it was, but I inflicted 300,000 damage, and I mean they were done. Like it wasn't even fair at that. Like it just yeah.
I'm just thinking how you said you two-shot at the super boss. He has like
I know that's
hundreds
insane.
of millions of health, right?
That's
like 300 million.
He's got a lot.
He's got a lot, man.
But it's a couple million.
A couple
million. Yeah, a couple million. But
and then you two-shot him. That means you're doing like a million. You're doing over 1 million damage.
Oh, for
I
sure.
I have this screenshot somewhere about what the
you got to share that
I did that I hit him with. I think it was like 31 million damage or something crazy.
Oh my gosh, 31 million damage.
Yeah, it was insane.
My favorite boss in the game. I just want to throw it out. I fought Sprong probably before I should have, but ended up beating him. And I just found that so thrilling. And, my family was watching, and I will give the game a lot of credit because one of the boss themes, I don't know how to describe it, but when my family heard the song, they were like, what is this? They were like bopping to it. And, Sprong is crazy. He's just spitting out water. And somehow I figured it out and got him down. And that was like really, really memorable. And of course, the Picto that, Sprong drops is a game changer.
Absolutely.
So that was really cool.
Everborn
was awesome.
Everborn brings up a great point here. With all the stiff competition this year, with Split Fiction, will Split Fiction be remembered by the end of the year? It should be, but I wonder if it will be. I haven't played Split Fiction, but I played some of Joseph Fair's other games. Have been great. As a panel, have any of you played Split Fiction? Do you think, to Everborn's point, do you think this game will be remembered by the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it will be. I mean, I just spoke about it before I even saw his comment when saying how incredible the level design was, and it just blew my mind. So I don't think that's something anybody's going to forget anytime soon. Anyone that's actually played it. It was an incredible experience. I think it's got a strong shot for at least level design. Like the game was just phenomenal to experience from start to finish. Just the variety of levels and the way they went about crafting everything and the different perspectives and honestly, this game just constantly flipped you on your head and just threw everything at you. So yeah, I mean, I think it definitely will be. I do think it kind of sucks that it might get overshadowed in some categories just because it's kind of competing in an area where Nintendo does strongly, and with a lot of the areas where it might win. Um, so you got to compete with Donkey Kong at this point, and people in standard fashion are losing their minds over Donkey Kong. You see all the 10 out of 10s going crazy. So yeah, if anything, it might get knocked out. I don't think it should, personally. Like I said, for me to get blown away and for me to experience something in a video game I've never experienced before after 30 plus years of gaming is really tough. So for me to feel like it was constantly throwing things at me I'd never seen before and experiencing things in a game in a way that I've never seen done prior, like that's an incredible feat in and of itself. And I don't think it's going to be soon forgotten. I think a lot of people I still see a lot of people finally getting like a co-op partner to play it and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going anywhere. But yeah, it's insane to experience. So yeah, I don't think it'll be forgotten. Like I said, I just think it might just get overshadowed, just because some of the games this year have been so big, and it's not over yet, and we've still got some potential really big hitters coming, and that would be the main reason why I could see it getting knocked out. This also may be, someone brought this up to me though, talking about, game of the year. Um, that at least one year Jeff said, even though it's always been six, that Jeff said if they felt like it was a year where there were more than six, that they might extend the category. So hopefully, if they really feel like they've got more than six this year, they extend the category to 7 or 8 or something, and make sure they include all the ones that are definitely really, really deserving of that game of the year. But yeah, I don't think people who have played it, I don't think they'll forget it. People who
Yeah.
haven't played it, I definitely could see them, forgetting about it. Um, but yeah, I think enough of these games that have been top tier have been on most people's radars long enough that most people have seen them and really remember them and stick out. Because like I said, I haven't played KCD2, but between my best friend and a couple other people on my timeline, they were going absolutely crazy about it. So like, even though I haven't played it, you know it's something where I can't forget it, and it'll be the same with Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. I'm personally not a fan. Last time I enjoyed Donkey Kong was Donkey Kong Country back in the day, and I'm just not like into the genre like that anymore. But I definitely, that's another game where, like you said, I think it's just going to be a strong, strong contender by the end of the year as well. But yeah, I mean, Everborn's point is valid because everybody always says recency bias always seems to trump the game that came out early in the year. Um, and it happens a lot. Like we've seen it where like either the game doesn't get nominated or it just seems like it got thrown on the back burner because it came out so long ago in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a 100% fair point.
Let me grab this super chat here by Everborn Saga. It says, thank you for the super chat, Everborn. $5 super chat says, my two most anticipated games this year are Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and Shinobi. Ninja Gaiden does come out next month, and I'm like actually looking forward to both. Especially Ninja Gaiden. Big Ninja Gaiden fan. Ninja Gaiden, for those who remember on the NES, was like I think one of the games I remember where I saw like the actual like first, probably the game where I experienced maybe one of the first like cinematic cutscenes that everyone remembers playing the original Ninja Gaiden. It's the game was so good. Ninja Gaiden on the Xbox was incredible. So,
Yes.
but yeah, I'm definitely looking
That was
forward to
amazing.
Gaiden and Shinobi. What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Kofi.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say the first Ninja Gaiden I played was on NES, and I was awful at it because I was so young. But then you just brought up the Xbox, Ninja Gaiden Black. I just couldn't believe that game looked so good, but performed so well. And Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma is one of my favorite action games ever. It was the first time I sat down and beat a game 7 times before I wanted to like touch anything else. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Ragebound, right? Ragebound, obviously Shinobi, and then shoot, we got
Oh,
4.
Yeah, Shinobi's. Woo. Yeah, this has been it's been a good year for games. I think it's been from some of the larger releases, some of the surprises. I think Expedition 33. Although some folks will say no, it wasn't a surprise. There was something special I saw in the reveal. But no, I think this is 2025 has been a great year for gaming so far.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Expedition 33 was a surprise for a lot of people, but obviously that's a genre I'm heavily into. So, I mean, from the very first trailer, um, and me talking about it, I mean, it's still on my Twitter. You can see where I put out the trailer and spoke about it, and from that moment on, the development team followed me, and I was able to talk to them while they were finishing the game and going through development. So that was a cool experience for me in and of itself. And like I said, I pre-ordered the Lumiere edition last year. Like, and I'm glad I did because now, obviously, as big as the game is and stuff like that, you've got people scrambling to try and get the Lumiere edition. They even were nice enough to come out with a special version of the collector's edition because a lot of people didn't get a chance to get that wanted it. Um, and once people realized how much they really love this game, so it's great to just see a game winning purely on the merit of being people realizing it's a great game. Like it's not just the hype, it's not just whatever. Yeah, and some people, it's not going to be for some people. Like we always say, every game's not for everybody, but like it's still an incredible game, and tons of people, like even Mr. B said in the chat right now, he can't play turn-based games, right? But I know a ton of people who have hit me up who never play turn-based games, and we're like, this game is like one of the guys I frequently see at the gas station I go to. He hit me up and was just like, it's one of the greatest games I've ever played in my life. And this person is just like a pure FPS competitive player. Like they rarely go out of that realm. So for him to just tell me he played it and just it's one of his favorite games of all time, um, was just great. Hearing him talk about all the things that we kind of went through when we had, the spoiler cast where we talk about, how people, the deep narrative and the things that it made people consider that they've gone through in their lives personally. Um, yeah, I think this game just did a lot in a bunch of different areas, whether it's gameplay, whether it's also, the narrative, the character development, the world building, the enemy designs, something that we don't even talk about. Like there's stuff still coming out about Expedition that I'm still discovering. Like somebody was going through. I'm watching somebody who's playing it now, that I follow in Blue Sky, and he's going through like the philosophical side of it and how a bunch of the names for things in the game have like, actual like real life philosophical ties, where it's like, this actually means this. The gestrals are called gestrals, but in real life a gestural would mean like a gesture, which ties to this, which means this in this language. And it's like, wait a minute, what? Like, so there's
Oh,
like
can,
meaning
can,
within meaning.
can I piggyback off of that really quick?
Yep.
Um, so I have family that lives in France, and they are coming to live with us for the next like in August. Like it starts in the middle of August, and
Mhm.
my sons are really excited, and they're like, "Oh, like show them Expedition 33." And I think some politician over in France, I know, apparently acknowledged the game. But I started to like just do some research on some of the names in the game that obviously are French, and
Mhm.
one of the gestuals that a lot of the gestuals, they create these tools, and I think that the way you pronounce them is a sac à patate or something like this,
Mhm.
which are like they're just these big hulking beasts that carry shields and they have guns on them. But to my understanding, that a lot of the names of the enemies are like um, and this is not a diss. I think it's kind of like praise, but it's almost like a child's description in French of how you would say something, um, like a monster or something like that. And
Yeah.
apparently, a sac of patate is like an incorrectly spelled version of toy or something like this, which I found really, really charming. Um, but I certainly will be showing some of that to my French speaking family because we got some young people who are into gaming. So
Yeah.
I will report back if they say
They're gonna,
something funny.
yeah, I think they're gonna enjoy that, man. Like I said, I'm still discovering stuff about the
Mhm.
game where it's I don't know. It's like I remember I still it sticks with me so much, that particular tweet where, someone had said the game the game wasn't profound, and then I'm like I don't uh, uh, it goes on the definition of things, where I told people, people need to be really specific when they say things and only speak about things when they know things, because when you look up the definition of profound, I'm not really sure many games outside of Expedition 33 fit that definition so strongly, and Expedition 33 would definitely be considered profound. Um, so yeah, yeah, man. If you guys haven't played it, give it a chance. Um, like I said, I mean, even Mr. B, he said, not really into turn-based. Well, if you ever find yourself with Game Pass while it's still on there, give it a shot on there, or whatever, or you catch it on sale, deep sale later, and you're like, I want to try it, I want to see, because like I said, I know a lot of people who are not into turn-based who have definitely messaged me, knowing me being the turn-based RPG player that I am, just to tell me how much they love the game. So yeah, it's definitely something that I always tell people. There's an exception to everything, because I'm the same way with platformers and puzzle games. Like platformers and puzzle games are just like some of my least favorite genres. But then you had something last year like Astrobot, which I found incredibly fun. Um, so it's like, again, that wasn't something at the top of my anticipation list because it was a platformer. But then when I played it, it turned out to be really good, and I had a lot of fun with it, and it was just very whimsical and just, you know, I had a ball with it. I still need to finish it, but that's because I got sidetracked and distracted. But I'm literally like on the last planet on there. But yeah, perfect example of something I'm typically not a fan of, that I typically will stay away from, that I went for and ended up loving. Um, I, puzzle games, I'm a lot less. Uh, I'm a lot less forgiving. So everybody going losing their mind over blueprints. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going near it. We're not doing this because yeah, I'm not a puzzle person. But yeah, yeah. So all good things.
Well, I do want to move on. I think it's great that we're still talking about Expedition 33. I think it speaks to how great that game is. I mean, it's just, here we are months after it's released. We're still talking about it. This is not the first time we talked about it on the show. So I think that speaks volumes to the impact the game's had to the gamers, the community, to the industry. So I do want to move on to a topic here. Oh, I just had it up. Now I lost it. Give me a second here. All right, here we go. Matt Piscatella. We've had Matt on the show before. It's been a while since we've had Matt on. Matt, we'd love to get you back on again. So Matt released today. He's not actually, Matt's no longer on Twitter. I understand why. I think he had a breaking point with Twitter. It's like, all right, I'm out of here, and is now over at Blue Sky Social. So you can follow him there if you're interested in some of the data points he puts out for all things the gaming industry. But he did put out an interesting data point here. I released here are the Q2 2025 US best-selling title rankings for PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo platforms, ranked on dollar sales and physical and digital from participating publishers. Let's see here. Here we go. I think it's right here. Here we go. Top 10 best-selling games on PlayStation, the PlayStation platforms, physical and full game digital from digital data sharing publishers, ranked on dollar sales. This is from April 2025 through early July 5th of 2025. Number one on PlayStation's Elden Ring. 2 is Forza Horizon 5, I should say. 3, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. 4, the MLB The Show 25. 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. 6, Doom The Dark Ages. 7, Death Stranding. 2, On the Beach. 8, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. 9, Minecraft. 10, Assassin's Creed. Now, what's notable here is that if you look at the publishers on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of the top 10 games are games published by Microsoft. And I'll just give everyone my 2 cents here. I'm not surprised by this, given the consolidation of publishers by Microsoft. They did purchase ABK, who's a publisher. They did purchase ZeniMax Media, who's a publisher. So can't say I'm entirely sure. Interesting, though, with like games like for Forza Horizon 5 and Doom the Dark Ages, Indiana Jones. I mean, these are games, I think we've kind of seen this with Microsoft games on PlayStation. These games, when they're published on Xbox as exclusives, or in particular Forza Horizon 5, I think Forza Horizon 5 may have charted for a little bit. Could be wrong. Have to go back and look at that. But these games seem to have a bit more visibility on the PlayStation platform in terms of Circana, because people are actually buying these games. And it made me think that perhaps this speaks to consumers on the Xbox platform and the PlayStation platform interacted differently in terms of how they consume video games. And what I mean by that is on the Xbox, you do have to contend if you're a publisher with Game Pass. We know that Microsoft, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, just an observation based on how that ecosystem works. But with Game Pass, you can buy, you can experience games day and date without having to buy them through the Game Pass subscription service. Nintendo and PlayStation, you don't have that option for consuming Microsoft published games. So that's just my 2 cents on the top 10 here for the PlayStation 5. I saw a lot of people making fun of this. I don't know why. I think this is what Microsoft kind of set out to do, to be one of the largest global publishers in the gaming industry, by arguably buying one of the largest publishers in ABK, and then before that, scooping up ZeniMax. I think that's the end result of those particular acquisitions by Microsoft. So I'll throw it out to you, gentlemen. What do you any thoughts on the top 10 for PlayStation 5?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, this is not really a surprise. A lot of these companies that were consolidated with them were already popular on PlayStation. So, I mean, that's not really surprising. You know, Skyrim sold gangbusters on PS3, and so on. So, I mean, that's not really surprised. See Oblivion jump up there. Again, Call of Duty, it sells like 83% or 85% or something like that on PlayStation. So again, that's not a surprise. Microsoft's just the publisher behind it now. Doom, again, another one that always does pretty solid. Indiana Jones was also coming prior. Minecraft has always been big. Like, that doesn't negate that either. So, I mean, again, none of these are really surprising. Even Forza Horizon 5, for me, as someone who played it day one on PC, that's not really surprising to me, because honestly, Forza Horizon 5 doesn't really have any competition. There's no real big, arcade racer that gives you a massive list of cars, incredible cars like that to race, in this kind of like half arcade, half simish kind of setting, with a ton of customizability and stuff like that. So again, I'm not surprised that people were hungry for that on there. And Forza Horizon 5 is a really great game. I mean, I've put, about 200 hours into it myself, and beat it a long time ago. I have like 800 cars in the game. So yeah, I mean, none of this really surprises me. These are the quality things that they purchased, right? This is what they wanted them for. And Indiana Jones has a long time history. It scored pretty well when it came out. I personally didn't finish it. I did play it on Game Pass, but that was largely because of what I spoke about earlier. The thing with the puzzles. Me and puzzles don't get along. I mean, Indiana Jones is
Not a big puzzle
largely a
fan.
lot of puzzles.
No, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed what I did play of it. Like I said, I played most of these for at least a little bit. Like I said, Doom has always been big, and Doom was already slated. Like somebody said in the chat for PlayStation anyway. Doom's always come there, so I mean, again, that wasn't really a surprise. Doom doing well, and Doom has a long time history as well. So yeah, again, none of these really surprised me. And then they came out in a time where they rapid fire released a lot of these titles, right? During a time where there just wasn't a ton of competition. So for these to score where they did, again, not really surprising. And then yeah, like I said, this is what Microsoft set out to do, right? To be that big publisher. And I think none of us are really surprised that have played on PlayStation and know the behavior and buying patterns of the PlayStation fan base. So, I mean, when we see something and we like it, we're going to buy it and we're going to support it. So,
yeah. For me, I also agree. I'm not surprised, but I feel refreshed because we know that Forza Horizon series is really good. I will say I'm a little salty that I'm more of a closed circuit type person, and I understand that Forza Motorsport may be not returning, so I am a little salty about that. But we've never, well, I'll say this: it's been a long time since we've seen sales for Forza Horizon because the series is inside of Game Pass. We know about what concurrent players, or we know about how many people are active playing the game, on Xbox or on Steam. But it's nice to just see it chart because people appreciate media and they were able to get it to, rank number 2, at least over the period that Matt Piscatella reported for. So I really like that. To me, Forza was a really ambitious series. So for it to be acknowledged on, a console that it was never on, just shows that the gamers supported it. And I think if this was still an Xbox exclusive that was still selling at MSRP only, it would have been supported there too. So a lot of these other games, I'll be very honest. I don't love the Elder Scrolls. Morrowind was the last one that I really liked. And Doom is really fun. And Indiana Jones, I just haven't gotten around to Indiana Jones. So, like you guys said, a lot of these developers or publishers were kind of already selling well, and there's a culture of them being bought on PlayStation. So we're looking at normalcy at this point.
Yeah. Let me grab this super chat here by Everborn. Thank you again for the super chat, Everborn, with the $5 super chat. Says, I think the chart is a surprise to the people that were surprised by the multi-platform shift from Xbox. Thank you for that super chat, Everborn. The other game that it's interesting. What was I going to say? I forgot. Shoot. I was going to say something about Indiana Jones, and I completely forgot. Anyhow. But yeah, no, I can't. I'm not totally. I mean, like, to someone's point in the live chat, many of these games were on PlayStation previously because they were published by ZeniMax Media, and now Microsoft owns that. So again, I don't disagree that some of this isn't necessarily a complete surprise. But Microsoft owns a big chunk of some of the some of the larger franchises, and they're just a juggernaut now in terms of publishing because of the amount of studios that they purchased over the last couple of years. So I would expect that we would see this continuing, especially as we'll see this with when the next Call of Duty comes out too. So this trend will certainly probably continue on PlayStation, and if they start releasing more content on Nintendo, maybe we see that the same outcome there too. But I do want to move on to another topic here, and this one it's kind of interesting because so I'm a TA manager, and I often put together job postings. I don't think I've ever seen a job posting cause this much controversy. Let me pull this job posting up here quickly. Actually, I'll pull it up from the actual careers at Sony Interactive Entertainment, PlayStation. And this is I don't know why this caused so much controversy, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. And I've talked to some folks who have a bit of an inside track on this position at PlayStation, and it's not what people think it is, based on what these individuals have shared with me. Let me blow that. Let me zoom up a little bit here, just to. I don't think everyone can really see it. I think that's better. There we go. That's better. All right. Let me read this here real quick. Why PlayStation? PlayStation isn't just the best place to play, it's also the best place to work. Okay. That's I think that's typical of most interesting job description. But here's what they're hiring for. This is a senior director, multi-platform and account management role. San Mateo, California. Remote is okay, but West Coast is preferred. This position reports to the vice president, commercial management, as senior director of multi-platform and account management. So this position, so just that title, just that from a TA perspective, that should tell you, as an applicant, that this group isn't necessarily a new group per se. They're reporting to a VP. Okay. And so this is an established group. And so what really kind of what really got people a bit riled up was this last part here, that you'll play a critical leadership role in shaping and executing the global commercial strategy for PlayStation Studios software titles across all digital platforms beyond PlayStation hardware, including Steam, Epic, Game Store, Xbox, Nintendo, and mobile. This role is accountable for optimizing title profitability, ensuring cross-functional alignment, leading a high-performing team focused on multi-platform expansion, mid-range commercial planning, and platform partner management. So the Xbox piece is what really, I think, caught the attention of a lot of individuals. And so you see that this and again, this isn't this is an existing group. And again, you can look at team leadership. This role actually has direct reports. Some of those reports are these individuals below. These were existing positions before this position was advertised. I don't think that's something that a lot of people have missed out on. You see manager platform planning performance, PC, Xbox, senior manager platform sales, Xbox, PC, director multi-platform strategy and account management. Again, these are roles that are rolling, that are direct reports. Okay, reporting up to this particular position. So you see something like this, just lets you know that this initiative, Xbox PC, was in place prior to this job posting, because these are the titles of roles, and you see their functionality here based on the titles and what they manage that are reporting to this new role. That's one thing. All right. I think that's important. I think a lot of people have missed that. Does that make sense, panel? I just want to make sure I didn't lose anyone here.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Right. Okay. And live chat, let me know if you have any questions, TA related questions about, the meltdowns. Capoto says the meltdowns have been wild, and the meltdowns have been on both sides too. I've seen some, apparently people are trying to email to Toki, like, don't do that. That's kind of weird.
I think what's happening is like funny, like some people I've seen, it's even less the job posting and more of them reacting to the teasing from the opposite side.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I'm like, why are y'all reacting to them? Because like, I mean, I've seen tweets from like some content creators that are like, "Oh, this is it. It's all over.
Yeah,
the whole slate, you know,
whole
what I'm saying?
slate,
Day and date, everything is all over." And I'm like, and then like I'm looking at like people responding to this, and I'm like, I'm like, you're not really responding to the job posting at this point. You're just responding to the provocations of people who are telling you, "Oh, this is it. I told y'all PlayStation was going third party, multi-platform all day." Like, and I'm just like, y'all can't be seriously reacting to these, the first grade level provocations of people just like wanting to tease people and stuff. And I'm just like, nothing has even happened. Like, and again, like you said, the moment I seen this, that was my thing, was like, I was like, okay, this just looks like an existing area in the, in PlayStation, where typically if something or a role comes along where they feel like there's enough work, they generate an extra role to be put in there for someone to take that up, so that other people whose job it's technically not to do those things listed can stop doing those things and refocus on the things that they're supposed to do. And that is what that new person's job is, to alleviate the people above in this position to not necessarily need to do this work, so that they can focus on the things that they need to. So I'm just like, I don't, again, I don't know if people are freaking out. People are having a heart attack. Like, again, nothing has even happened. And then the beyond thing And I'm like, PlayStation already expressed to y'all about them exploring, you know, TV shows and movies, and we already talked about like the God of War TV show is coming or movie or whatever. Um, you know, they've already had The Last of Us. Like, there's a lot of things that consist of beyond the PlayStation part, and they've already got MLB the Show going there, Marathon. A lot of their live service push stuff that's doing that. And the other thing that's kind of coinciding with this, which has people freaking out, is like the whole thing with Helldivers 2 right before this. And I'm just like, okay, so this is why I said, like, it's good to be informed yourself, because if anybody was paying attention to that whole situation, Arrowhead has already stated that their next game they want to work, basically self-publish, right? They want to work themselves. They don't want a partner. PlayStation wants to maintain that relationship with them, and the CEO specifically for the company has been on Twitter and expressed them wanting to push the game onto to Xbox after a bunch of people were asking for it, right? So PlayStation, again, people have to pay attention to other things PlayStation does. PlayStation is very relationship bound when it comes to a lot of the people they work with and the developers that they work with in maintaining these relationships. Like, a lot of people keep asking the whole thing about Bloodborne, right? Why is Bloodborne not coming? And like the best answer we've gotten, and the real answer to why you haven't gotten it, is because essentially the person who is in charge of it doesn't want to that the creator doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it, but he also doesn't want anyone else doing it. So basically, they respected that and maintained their relationship in good standing with that person. And this is the same thing with Arrowhead. Arrowhead's going to self-publish or whatever in the future. PlayStation wants to maintain good grounds with that, and this is part of a live service initiative that they've done. And their live service games are ultimately meant to be given to the biggest audience possible, right? So it's not outside of their behavior already with this. Um, and another thing that I said that a lot of people are not tracking is that, like I said, in particular, and I'm tandeming these together because, like I said, I see a lot of reactions that are putting the posting together with the Helldivers move. Um, and another thing people need to keep in mind is a large part of us haven't played Helldivers 2 in months, like months, and they've given us most of us no reason to go back to it. So as a live service game, like, while it succeeded really heavily in its first 3 months, or even upwards of 4 months potentially, um, it's had a huge drop off in player base. So for them, they admitted they got blindsided by, number one, how successful it was, but ramping up to support this game in a live service capacity. So they haven't really been able to give any meaningful major updates to the game in the meantime. So one way you attempt to reinvigorate your game's player base is by just adding a new player base that says that they want in, right? So that's more about trying to keep that game alive while the team, keeps trying to ramp up to support it properly. Um, and I mean, I would do the same thing, right? If I was Arrowhead, they're not really generating anything from the microtransactions and stuff in that game. Uh, I think I bought something once because, again, you can earn it all in game. Like, it's a really fair system, but it's also not generating gangbusters of revenue per month for them outside of initial sales, because that's where they're getting the majority of their money. And the game did really well, but they want to continue to do well in the meantime. And like I said, the best way to do that is to launch it again. And this person's position in
Mm-hmm.
particular is coordinating a lot of the intricacies of linking these places together, dealing with the different ecosystems, cross-platform. All this stuff is really important because a lot of people don't get it because maybe they don't play some of these games that are cross-platform. But this is something I'm dealing with now with Killing Floor 3, right? Me and Priscilla have played Killing Floor 3, or Killing Floor in general, for years, right? And Killing Floor 3 is the most recent iteration, and it being cross-platform has changed the way that they structured the way that you even locate games. And it is basically seamless, right? But it's almost to the point where they've gotten rid of some of the core things that people who typically like to play Killing Floor, because it was PC first before and it was only on PC prior. So they're missing a lot of the features that PC only players like having the ability to search for lobbies based on servers and things of that nature. So it's more of a
Yeah.
matchmaking system now.
Mhm.
And again, that's something that largely changed because the game is cross-platform. So
Yeah.
you have to have someone like this internally who's managing these things between them. So you're also not upsetting one set of people in these particular ecosystems. Like I just told you in Steam, where we play Killing Floor and we always have it switching that mode to try and incorporate PlayStation, PC, and Xbox day one has now altered the game fundamentally to a point where it's kind of frustrating for some people because it feels less freeing because they had to streamline it to facilitate the launch on consoles at the same time. So
Yeah.
again, like I said, these are some of the intricacies that happen when you are coordinating a game between all these platforms that people, again, unless you're really into that or you've seen changes happen
Mhm.
because of cross-platform integration being day one, has fundamentally changed the way you interact with the game. You don't really get how much work is involved and how much goes in, because that person's job is going to be to consider all these different things. What do we need day one on each of these platforms to make these games launch and have a happy fan base there?
Mhm. That's a great point. I mean, you talk about like platform management, planning, sales. I mean, strategy, right? I mean, that's those things. Optimization, collaboration, performance optimization. I mean, it's in there. Like it's actually in the
Exactly.
job
All that
description.
stuff is in there.
Yeah, it's in there. So I do want to mention. Sam wants mention something because a lot of the folks who are sort of running around saying that this, in fact, is because of Helldivers 2, and again, Herman Hall's talked about Helldivers 2 and live service games. Live service games are different than single player games. I mean, to your point, and they do require consistent engagement. Um, that's by definition that is they that's what they prioritize: long term engagement through continuous updates, events, downloadable content, access to a large player base. That impacts monetization strategies. Single player games are different in that regard. I won't get into all the differences of single player games are mostly completion focused. But I won't get into all the things, the nuances between single player and live service. But Sam Walton brings up a great point. They one of the first questions that that was asked of them in the fireside chat last month was exactly this. Them going like multi-plat per se, and they're not doing that. And I think where some of my frustration lies with the conversation is that people are, for whatever reason, not understanding that from a publishing standpoint, and I think everyone on the panel would acknowledge that PlayStation, at least historically now, is more open to um, putting some of their IPs on other platforms. We see this on PC. We see some licensing of their IPs on Nintendo through Legos, the Legos Horizon game, which we found out, by the way, Horizon, the franchise has sold 38 million between two releases. And that came out in the lawsuit against PlayStation against sued Tencent for what I think is a blatant ripoff of the Horizon franchise, which we're not going to get into today, but definitely probably talk about it maybe next week. But I think the one thing that people tend to forget is that it's not their strategies aren't apples to apples. There may be some behaviors that may seem similar, but understand that the strategy of a PlayStation is that their publishing strategy is platform first. Xbox's publishing strategy is platform agnostic. And those are very two different things. And people are conflating the two, and they're not really the same. And I really, that is my frustration with some of the conversation of, oh, it's the same. It's not the same. Companies have different priorities. They have different business objectives. They have different risk appetite, and they're going to execute on those strategies and assess risk and opportunities differently. And the same holds true for Sony and Microsoft. And this is one of the things I've learned too about this particular role is that in talking to somebody who's got a little bit of inside track, that the position responsibilities have already been assigned internally for years. They are required to open up the position externally, but from this person's understanding, it's been filled internally by someone on the team already. And that's actually a thing, by the way. Even if you fill positions internally, you still need to, if you have a candidate internally, you need to at least post it externally to show that you try to, if you have someone in mind, that you try to interview or source for talent that might fit that position. That's a thing. But anyhow, so it just, the knee jerk reaction over this. I remember people talk about MLB The Show. That wasn't Sony's decision. That was MLB that made that happen. Mary Wilcox, thank you for stopping by. But I think there are fundamental differences in how Xbox and Nintendo and PlayStation address and look at their platforms. I say address, but how they treat their platforms. And, it's interesting. I don't see a lot of conversation. And I don't know if you would agree with this, Anate or Kofi, but I never see a lot of conversation about Nintendo as relates to them needing to open up their games to other platforms, or, what if Mario what if Legend of Zelda, or, Mario Kart 8, which sold like, I think 60 million copies. What if that was on Xbox or PlayStation? It could have sold more copies. Imagine that. But those aren't the business objectives of these organizations. These organizations are trying to lock you into their ecosystems, and that's part of the value proposition of their, well, at least that is part of the value they see in some of their tentpole franchises. It's not unit sales as much as is getting people to stay, what we call stickiness within the ecosystem, or potentially bringing in new consumers to further monetize them the way Apple does. That's sort of the goal of Nintendo, PlayStation, and even Xbox to an extent, even though Xbox is more agnostic from a publisher perspective. They still are trying to monetize in their ecosystem through things like the different Game Pass tiers and so forth. So I think there's a bit of nuance. I think there's a lot of things that people are conflating in the strategies that these companies have. There's also this conversation. I know, and I'll wrap up here, gentlemen, and I don't want to be a little long-winded, but these are just some of the conversations I've been having recently on Twitter. Some of the conversations I've seen other people have about exclusivity and consoles dying. Let's remember that PlayStation, Nintendo, at least, don't see or may not see value in a one-off retail transaction. They may value more that retail transaction to someone who's actually within their ecosystem, who's going to spend more money in their ecosystem, as opposed to a one-time transaction of $70. And they're going to have that person locked into their ecosystem for the lifetime of that console generation, as opposed to a one-time sale. So I think it's important to distinguish that and to look into what does that look like for PlayStation, Nintendo, if they sell a copy of Spider-Man on Xbox, and then that's a one-off sale for $70, and then that person is no longer engaged in their ecosystem spending money, where the person on PlayStation has spent the $70 and some, and now they're monetizing that individual is locked in their ecosystem over the next 6 or 7 years. There's a lot of value in that. It isn't just about unit sales or additional unit sales of software. So I was a bit long-winded there. I just want to throw it out to the panel here. Do you agree or disagree with my assessment of PlayStation, Nintendo, the market, digital ecosystems, the role exclusives play in those ecosystems?
I do. I think the other value proposition that I guess comes across my mind is, like you said, Xbox, they're agnostic. They every game that they develop is going to release at least on 2 platforms. Obviously, most of it ends up getting ported to PC. But a lot of the, I would say, the higher tier internal studios at PlayStation try to focus on one SKU. And things have gotten a lot easier from a development standpoint in terms of the similarity of architecture between, console and PC. But when you are very ambitious and you have, I guess, a lot of members working on a specific experience, focusing on one SKU, I still think keeps you competitive in some of these experiences that we see. What's the next game coming up by Naughty Dog? Is it called Intergalactic?
Yes.
I feel like games like this, or what, not only like Sucker Punch, but Guerrilla Games will work on next. Focusing on one SKU and not dealing with all of the crazy release issues that you might have on PC, it's a heavy lift. And so if they want their games to be well rated, which they obviously do, I still think focusing on that and taking ownership of the ecosystem you're discussing is really lucrative. And something that I don't necessarily love, but I know PlayStation is taking advantage of, is all these digital only versions of their console, or I'll say versions of their console that don't come with a disk drive. And
I'm not a fan of that either.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that either. Yeah,
I'm salty about that, but them porting all of their games elsewhere, I think it could go against, like you're saying, this value that if somebody is buying games off the PlayStation Store and they can only, or they prefer to only buy off the PlayStation Store, that's lost opportunity, I think, for the PlayStation bigwigs. But porting, to my, like, I guess a counterpoint to what I'm saying is porting could still be an option, through Nixes or maybe the developers themselves. But I guess my thought is, I'm curious what Xbox will be like from a console perspective in the next 10 years. Will they have a traditional box that you would install something on, or will it be a cloud version of that in 2027, 2029? They are doing a lot of migration to playing games through your TV. This Samsung TV will have the Xbox Game Pass app, and they like to use software in this space. And I don't think they love spending money on hardware. I think they like putting their logo on hardware that's going to be made anyway. So, I'm curious what the Xbox community will look like if a home console isn't exactly what we expect it to be when we get to the PlayStation 6 and beyond. The generation that would define PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. The conversation around exclusives and ecosystems is kind of interesting. Because I mentioned this earlier the week, that we don't have these conversations about exclusivities. And one of the other things that has popped up recently is that the console space is a mature market. It is mature. It's not like it was 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. But there's I got to pull. I don't know if it was. I know Morgan Stanley did a analysis of the mobile market, and they said that the mobile market was the mobile gaming market was a mature market, but it's interesting. They attributed growth in the mature market, and this applies. I think this also applies to the console market, which people say which is a mature market. One of the things that Morgan Stanley, their analysis of the mobile gaming market being a mature market, they were saying that there were potential, while there was maturity in the bigger markets as there is in the console market, there was a potential growth in some up and coming markets, right? There was some potential in figuring out how to further monetize the existing consumer base, right? Kind of what we've seen on consoles. consoles just don't play video games anymore. They're entertainment hubs, right? They're, and I said this in a Twitter post earlier this, or maybe it was yesterday, that consoles exist as one node within the ecosystem. And so where I think 30 years ago, exclusives were the end all be all for exclusives was to sell you a console. That's changed a bit to an extent. It is to sell you a console, but it's to further entrench you and keep you and to attract you to the overall ecosystem, so you can buy more things again. And that's what it's about. It's about squeezing as many pennies as you can out of your consumer. We see this with Apple. We see this with other consumer products. It's just what I find interesting, gentlemen, is that we don't really have these conversations about Netflix. Stranger Things is a anchor, and something that is is something that creates a brand identity for Netflix. Disney and the abundance of Disney IP, intellectual property, same thing. Those things exist as exclusives on those platforms. We don't question whether or not those exclusives in that sense matter, or if they're viable, or if they're anti-consumer. We don't do this with the conversation around, well, if you release Spider-Man elsewhere, it'll sell more units. We don't have this conversation with Nike and Air Jordan. We don't say, well, Michael Jordan could license out Air Jordan, the brand, to Reebok, to Adidas, and sell more Air Jordans. I mean, and I bring that up as an example because I feel like that some of the people that are having this conversation are interacting and consuming exclusives within ecosystems on a daily basis. And yet there seems to be some kind of disconnect or hypocrisy with gaming as it relates to exclusives. It's that's the part that's a bit frustrating. I think disingenuous sometimes. Disingenuous when we have these conversations about exclusivity. If you don't like exclusives, that's fine. Don't buy them. But let's not pretend that exclusives don't play a significant role in Nintendo's ecosystem and PlayStation's ecosystems. I also find it interesting that we never talk about Nintendo having to change, but we seem to focus a lot on PlayStation. That leads me to question the sincerity of the argument that some of the people are having, and that it seems to be driven more by console wars than actual. Let's actually have a really good conversation about what exclusives mean to ecosystems and to consumers. It's I brought up. I'm trying to think of an exclusive in our neck of the woods, Kofi, that might resonate with you, but I can't think of one right now. But it's just an interesting. I just find it to be interesting that for whatever reason people treat exclusives or exclusives that exist within ecosystems of gaming differently than they do in other consumer products. They essentially do the same thing.
Yeah, they do.
Let me. And by the way,
grab the super chat.
Yeah, I was gonna grab this, but even like product differentiators or exclusives. I mean that still exists on the Xbox ecosystem right now.
Which one?
The Xbox ecosystem, like with Game Pass. If you want to play all your video games, access to Microsoft first party on all platforms, what subscription tier do you need? You need Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
That is a product differentiator within that ecosystem. That serves a purpose. I mean, it's a brand identifier for Xbox. It's a differentiator in the marketplace for them. It's the same thing with exclusives for Nintendo and Sony. Anyhow, let me grab these super chats here real quick. Everborn Saga with another super chat. Thank you again, Everborn. The $5 super chat says, does the panel believe that port the older single player pillar IPs to Xbox would actually hurt the brands outside of the console wars? I say no. It's a conversation Everborn and I had earlier today on the GCP Discord. I'll throw this out to the panel. What do you guys think?
I mean, in my case, I'm gonna definitely say yes. Largely just because of the way people, like, to what he's saying, right? It's the way people behave now with Xbox, right? a lot of people I know that have considered an Xbox have, because of the way that they ported everything, even though it came later, right? Um, like the a friend, my best friend or whatever, Morgan, right? She was gonna get an Xbox. She was waiting for like State of Decay or whatever, or basically a couple games that she wants to purchase one, right? But by the time she got to that point, she had several alternatives to playing their game, which started with her playing via GeForce Now, right? And then obviously she could play. She played some of the I can't remember Obsidian's smaller title right now. I was gonna say Pillars of Eternity, but that's not what I'm talking about. Pentiment. Yeah, so she played some Pentiment on the cloud. It was pretty bad at the time, but it's gotten a lot better, the cloud, for them. But again, they've given her a bunch of other ways to attempt to play these games, right? And then because the cloud service wasn't really that good on Xbox for her as an experience at the time, she went through GeForce. Then it was like, oh, well, I still want to consider getting an Xbox eventually, but I feel like they haven't given me enough. But then they started porting the games to PlayStation, and then she's just like, oh, well, I'm going to pick up Indiana Jones when it comes to PlayStation. Oh, I'm going to pick this up when it comes over here. And gradually, that want for an Xbox went to nothing. Like, it's never going to happen for her because she ultimately doesn't need one. And I think that's the same thing that ends up happening. Again, like I know he was saying, like, does it kill it later, right? Right now is not the question. You need to consider, as a business, how are people going to consider you or look at you in the future? And again, these are questions that I deal with even from in my family, right? My nieces and nephews are in between, um, PlayStation and PC for them right now. Nintendo is always a conversation, but none of them really care that much. Um, One of them is more multiplayer, but all of them have exclusive games to PlayStation that they like, right? So the question I always get between them is, because when PlayStation started porting their games to PC, was, oh, can I play can I play the PlayStation games I like on PC? And like, of course, eventually some of them, right? But I have to explain to them, well, there's this game and this game and that game and this game that you can't. So they're like, okay, so I need a PlayStation. You see, so they are looking at the differentiators between console and PC. As now they have two PS5s, and the one niece has her first PC, and the other one is working right now to get his first PC. Um, but like I said, they're literally always looking at the the differences between what is on offer, what they can play, and when they can play it. And while day one is important, if you start diluting the pool later, they still notice that. So it's not just I know you're saying console warriors and stuff, but like my nieces and nephews don't care about that. They're just looking at what's on offer, where and when. So for them, they also have obviously the behavior of, when something comes out, they want to play it, right? Because I mean, as kids, you don't want to be the person in school not playing GTA 6 when it drops. So they already know they're gonna have to have consoles, right, to play GTA 6 day one, and it's not going to be available on PC. So that's a detractor for them, or a negative for them on PC, right? But PC offers a couple other things that they like. But again, my ultimate point is, like, does it devalue it? Of course, because they look at it and they're like, later, oh, I can play this, this, and this. But for them, they're in the same boat as me, where they'd rather have both, because I've played all those games, right? My oldest niece, her whole room is nothing but TLOU all on the wall. Like, it looks like a jungle, and there's Last of Us posters everywhere. She loves that game. So that game to her is synonymous with the PlayStation on her wall, and she doesn't care. That she.
And by the way, there's value. There's value to the brand on that. Where they have that loyalty, that consumer loyalty. That means that
Yeah.
your niece is going to spend is going to interact and identify with the PlayStation ecosystem. Those are real. Those are real things that consumers feel. We see
Yeah.
this with
Exactly.
clothing, other consumer products,
Cars.
cars. Thank you, cars. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead,
Well,
Nate.
no, but that's what I'm saying. So like that's why I said when Everborn, so Everborn's saying, of course, because Everborn said quite a few things, right? He was also saying, well, PlayStation sees the value in it with live service games, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, I saw that day one because live service games again are about the amount of people playing them at a given time frame. Like you want the biggest amount of people playing at a certain time frame, right? And it assigning it exclusively to those um, doesn't hurt the brand because ultimately you want to play, you want to give people that choose your PlayStation the ability to play. That gets rid of that thing. What is the thing we always say, or people always say they want to play where their friends are? That gets rid of that problem. The crossplay has essentially eliminated that. So PlayStation sees that, you take care of that day one, at least as far as PC goes, and then maybe you throw it on Xbox later. Some of the games will launch on Xbox day one, and that'll be the live service initiative, right? It's separate from the tentpole IPs. I mean, I personally still think that um, releasing them too soon on PC could still harm the brand because a lot of I don't think it's like a ton of people. There are quite a few people who really don't mind waiting, but I also believe that that's a combination of things, right? Part of the other issue, like I've stated with PlayStation, that still irks my nerve, is that they don't protect their games when they go to PC.
Yeah.
One of the things that people saw recently with Stellar Blade, Stellar Blade sold really well, but you want to know what Stellar Blade also did? They had Denuvo, and the game's still yet to be cracked. So that like again,
Really?
yeah, it hasn't been cracked. And people will tell you a bunch of stuff, but I mean, I'm in the scene. Like I know what's going on, whether or not I'm looking to do it or not. I know what's going on and when things get cracked and who does it and what teams do it and all this other stuff. So the only alternative for people for that game to play that game on PC is to purchase it. So at least when you're doing that, um, PlayStation for me, what is that noise? Oh,
Sounds
um,
like a PlayStation.
yeah, I think somebody turned on their PlayStation.
Oh, that's my heater. That's my space heater. My bad. My basement gets real cold.
Oh,
Your
no,
your
you're
space
okay.
heater your space heater sounds like a PlayStation.
I
Yeah,
thought,
it
yeah, I
does.
was
It
like, I
does.
thought it was a PlayStation. Um,
That's
but
crazy. I
yeah,
didn't know y'all could
like
hear
I
that. I'm
get,
sorry.
like I said, I get what he's saying, but to me, it devalues it because when later on down the line, if you shorten, like again, this is why I said it's an imperative that PlayStation maintains its specific cadence with the releases, even on PC. It needs to be, you know, 12 to 18 months or longer because you want to make the wait unbearable for the people who potentially will own both, right? You want to make them want to be a PlayStation fan, someone who owns a PlayStation who's ready to be there day and date, and then PC for everything else that they might like or be interested in. But I'm the same way, right? Another important factor that you stated, right? I use me as an example because I'm someone who's played on consoles and PC for years, right? And the differentiator has always been the exclusives, right? So if like when it comes to the next thing, like people keep saying, like right now, Everborn said there's no problem with them bringing. He doesn't think that bringing something like Spider-Man to Xbox this late in the game matters because no one's gonna leave PlayStation because they're too entrenched, right? But if you start putting your games essentially everywhere, certain people will look at that
I
as a
mean,
reason to not
we
need
but
a PlayStation.
we saw this with Xbox. We
Mhm.
you can actually see the decline of Xbox at points where they shift strategy and start bringing their games day and date everywhere. And they're essentially
Exactly.
telling you that you don't need an Xbox.
Exactly.
And the thing about the thing about live service games, live service games are different than single player games, right? They require consistent engagement and monetization. That doesn't hold true for single player, right? So an older game like Spider-Man, and let's just think about Spider-Man as an intellectual property. It is probably the most recognizable comic book character, right? It is it's done tremendous amount of money in the box office, right? The fact that it's on PlayStation as exclusive is a huge brand differentiator for PlayStation. There's a lot of value behind having Spider-Man exclusive. You can't get it anywhere. If you're a comic book fan, you want to play Spider-Man, guess what you need to do? You have to go out and buy a PlayStation. If it's on an Xbox, you don't have to buy a PlayStation. You can go out and buy an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X. You know, these even older games, they're still associated as exclusives amongst consumers. It's part of PlayStation's, and I said this, these games define PlayStation's brand identity. There's value in that. Putting those games, even if they're 5-7 years old, putting them on a different platform would dilute Sony's unique value proposition of the place where you get Spider-Man or high-end first-party exclusives. That is what Sony's known for. Same thing Nintendo's known for: Mario, for Zelda, for creating games that have solid gameplay mechanics. There's a reason why people buy Nintendo products. You know, again, we don't have this conversation about Nintendo, which I think is odd. We don't say, well, what if Nintendo brought Mario Kart 8 to Xbox? Nintendo's not going to do that because Nintendo's not in the business of diluting their brand. They want to.
But the funny thing about you saying that though is if they were bringing their stuff later to PlayStation, I wouldn't buy a Switch.
I wouldn't either.
Because I'm a performance person. So the moment I found out, because the Switch 1 was the same thing for me. Several of the titles that I have on Switch 1 are only because I thought they were exclusive before I realized certain titles would come to PC later. And that's the only reason they even got me. Like Octopath. Octopath was originally exclusive. And again, people think like, and some of this stuff doesn't bother people, and that's fine, right? But I will tell you right now, if I knew that I could just play a year later, that because like the few games that I'm into that Nintendo releases these days, I wouldn't have a problem waiting. And that's why I said PlayStation has already created a split of people who don't mind waiting, that year to 18 months, right? And then I believe you dilute that even further and you start to make people, you don't want to even put the idea in people's heads that your games are eventually going to be everywhere. Because now you've devalued it further, right? No, it's not going to. We're not talking about right now. That's the problem, right? No, I agree with Everborn. No one's going to chuck their PlayStation out the third story window because Spider-Man got announced for Xbox. But the problem is now you're making this person second guess PlayStation as a whole, where their games are going in the future, and do you even need a PlayStation? Like, you don't want someone asking that question. So now when PS6 comes around, people are already gonna test you, right? So now, that person has built a PC in the meantime, and they're like, okay, are you gonna give me your games in 8 months now? Are you gonna shorten that window? Like, they're starting to ask questions that you don't want them to ask already with the PC stuff. And then they already know, as far as PC goes, you don't even got to ask that question with Xbox. They're getting everything.
Some people did actually chuck their Xboxes out the window when Xbox went day and date on PC, and we saw the response of when they started bringing their first party content to PlayStation. So yes, I disagree with everyone in that regard. Yeah, some people. When Microsoft said you don't need an Xbox, to me as a consumer, they lost that additional spend for me and their ecosystem.
Yeah,
same. I mean, and they lost and you look, you see the declining hardware. That declining hardware means less That means less. You can't sell hardware, and your hardware share. You're not selling hardware to decline the way it's been declined for Xbox. That means that you're not squeezing more pennies out of folks in that ecosystem that potentially would have bought your hardware. So
Well, like,
again,
well, like,
there's
and to your point, I just bought like 3 games on PlayStation the other day. That guess what? They were available elsewhere, but I like to play those games on my PlayStation. But if all of PlayStation games were available day one at the beginning of this generation, I wouldn't have a PlayStation 5, and they wouldn't have got that spend. But I also choose to purchase those games there because there's no performance negative for me, as opposed to me playing it on PC. The games that I purchased, um, and I like the way that PlayStation invests my money into offering me first party games that you can't get anywhere else. So that's another factor that I consider when I do stuff like that.
I mean, you look at the value prop of PlayStation 5 Pro. Some of that value proposition isn't just only experiencing better performance in third party. It's also because you know that with first party PlayStation, that you're going to get a high end console experience, right? That takes advantage of the hardware, that's optimized for the hardware, and specifically with the PS5 Pro,
Exactly.
you're going to get the best console experience of an already um, of a title that's already already has high production values and optimization. You're going to get that at another level with the PS5 Pro, and consumers in that ecosystem find value in that kind of experience, so they go out and buy a PS5 Pro. You're not going to get that if you do a one-off retail sale on Xbox. Like, so the question is, what does Sony value more, the one-off sale or that sale to that person who's going to invest more money in the ecosystem? And I'm willing to bet, based on their current strategy, that they value more that individual is going to buy a first party title or buy software on the PlayStation in the storefront that's going to spend more money in the ecosystem than putting a game out on a competitor's platform that's going to buy one game at $70 and be done with PlayStation. Like, they just don't see, I don't think they see value in that. I think if they did, they would have done it already.
Yeah.
And as it stands, I mean, like, they're doing pretty well financially. I mean, I had this conversation earlier in the GCP chat, and I think some folks may have been arguing about, or there's a disagreement about the PlayStation generation being the most profitable to date. But yeah, as of 2024, and there was a slide deck to investors, most profitable generation to date. You'll see operating income, PlayStation 4, 9 billion. As it stands of 2024, 13 billion for PlayStation 5. If you combine, like, that's significant, right? I mean, if you look at
It is.
if you look at the combined operating income of all the PlayStation generations, let me share this real quick. This is what I was alluding to. This was posted. This was actually this is what they shared with investors. They show operating income, right? You look at, and these are sales right here. So look at sales of PlayStation, 24 billion, sales of PlayStation 2, 44 billion, sales of PlayStation 3, 71 billion, sales of PlayStation 4, 170 billion, sales of PS5, 136 billion, operating income, PlayStation 3 billion, PS2, 2 billion. PlayStation 3 was a loss for them, negative 4 billion. PlayStation 4 was 9 billion. PlayStation 5, 13 billion. I mean, so,
Yeah.
those are the numbers.
I think to the ultimate point, right, is if these games weren't differentiators, we wouldn't be having the conversation about porting them in the first place.
Right.
So if they're not making a difference, then we wouldn't even be having the conversation, because we're not asking, can they port Concord right now? You know what I mean? We're talking about, Spider-Man and their, God of Wars and stuff like that, right? And like I said, the answer for me is that they shouldn't. like I said, like I already think it was a stretch with PC, and I think they, as long as they carefully play that role, uh, eight for me, 18 months to 2 years, I think they'll be okay with getting that extra sale on the end. But I still think they need to protect their games even there, because I think they just lose way too much money with people just not purchasing it outright. And I think Stellar Blade showed I was right in that regard. Whatever people want to say, this, that, and the third, and PC has a whole nother thing with Denuvo. But again, I told people most people won't care if they want to play it, they'll purchase it. Denuvo has significantly gone down in its overhead and a bunch of other stuff that it used to do. And guess what? I was right. The game sold like 1.5 million copies. Because, like I said, when the game is available nowhere else, and eventually it comes to PC and they want it, and the only way you can get it is to buy it, then there it is. And obviously, live service games don't have this issue because you need access to the official servers. Um, but yeah, like I said, that's a very careful strategy they've implemented with them. But they've also done another thing, which a lot of people don't understand, is every game also hasn't been ported, right? Where's the only place you can play Demon Souls Remake? PlayStation 5. Where's the only place you can play Gran Turismo? PlayStation 5. So, to what Herman Hulse said during that interview where they asked him about that multiplayer strategy, or how they basically choose what games to port, when to port them, and so on and so forth. And he was like, we look at that on an individual basis. Well, clearly that's the case, because I just gave you two games that you can't play anywhere else, right? And then to the opposite of that, right? One of the games that Logic, one of your very own panel members, um, did when he came back to PlayStation, and got himself a PS5 Pro, one of the big reasons he did that was because there's other things that happen that are not necessarily even only first party, right? So one of the things but you want the best experience on console, right? So he got a PS5 Pro, but he got that largely because of the games he was missing out on, but he also was missing Unicorn Overlord, which we talked about at one point, right? Unicorn Overlord is
So
not
good.
on PC.
So good.
Yeah, it's such a good game.
The
But that's what I'm
Vanillaware
saying. That
Gods.
was a different.
Vanillaware
Yeah,
God. I mean, like,
Vanillaware Gods.
sorry, I don't want
Exactly.
to detract from your conversation. It's just so good. Like,
It is
No, no,
good.
no,
Yeah.
no. But it is. But the differentiator I just explained is one of the reasons Logic came back to to PlayStation or consoles in general, right? These games that he was going to be missing out on, he bought a Switch 2, and he bought a PlayStation 5 Pro. But he didn't, I mean, he eventually bought it because he likes to play around, but he initially didn't, get the Xbox or whatever, but largely he plays those games on PC, right? And that's why I said all these differentiators are important. And I get what Everborn is saying. I just think it would be a detractor in the long term. But I don't think that the reduction in your brand identity is not worth the pennies that would give you on the Xbox ecosystem porting it.
Well, I
That's
mean,
the best way I can answer that.
you're also talking about porting a game, and I think and that's I know what some people have drawn to the conclusion that, well, the Xbox game selling well, Microsoft published game selling well on PlayStation means that
Means the
PlayStation
opposite
games
will
coming to
happen.
Xbox would happen. It's like, well, no, those consumers are a bit different. We know that based on the Circana numbers. You see those games having having visibility, the kind of visibility they didn't have when being published on Xbox as exclusives. You're also competing with Game Pass and a consumer base that's trained to really consume video games primarily by the means of Game Pass. So there's something to be said for that. I do think. I mean, I think PlayStation games will probably sell well because they're PlayStation games, and there's that value, that identity that those brands carry within that for PlayStation. But again, it's not about selling, a one-off, sale as much it is for Nintendo or Sony to sell you a game and then get that person locked into the ecosystem where they're spending more money. Again, I say that is more valuable to them than that one-off sale of $70, because you make that $70 and then that person's done. They're not buying anything else from you. So I'm going to grab some super chats here. Street Shadow with the $10 super chat. Thank you, Street Shadow. Says people are really not understanding what this position is focused on. This is focused on managing their strategy of PlayStation first, then where it makes sense to expand to PC, Nintendo, Xbox as a secondary market. That is, that's a great point. We'll get these other super chats here. Dyrad Chisel with the $20 super chat. Thank you for that super chat. Says, I think people are also forgetting PlayStation's partnership with Bandai Namco and the releases they're putting out that are going to Switch and PC, but not Xbox, like everybody's Golf, Freedom Wars, Patagonia, etc. I mean, I think PlayStation to an extent still looks at not as much PC and Switch, but Xbox as their primary competitor in that space. Do they want to dilute their brand equity?
Until they're gone, I agree.
I think it was Patapon, and I think it auto-corrected. Yeah, it auto-corrected to Patagonia because that's
Patapon. Okay,
that's a place.
You're right, it's Patagonia.
Yeah.
Pon.
But yeah, no, I agree with him, and that was a big initiative that was just announced as well with PlayStation getting some of those older titles that were basically dead, and like, hey, we've got these more family-friendly platforms. Like Everybody's Golf and Patapon, and a lot like they did with Lego Horizon, throw them on the Switch too, and PC and call it a day. And it's like these cost them a lot less money. These are games that don't cost nearly as much as their big tentpole titles, and PlayStation fans still get them, but they don't have to be, they don't have to be locked down. They've kind of expended what their capabilities are, and they can do more by being expanded in those titles, but while also keeping your major tentpole titles locked down with Spider-Man and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think it was big to have that partnership because I think for all three of us, we kind of grew up with PlayStation, and a lot of their third and second party partnerships from 4 gens ago was more catered to us at the age we were back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But a lot of those big titles are not around. I mean, Astrobot's amazing, and Astrobot actually is the one counterpoint. But things like Patapon, things like Everybody's Golf, Everybody's Tennis, I think could be very lucrative for a younger generation on PlayStation, but they're not really around right now. But I am glad that we're starting to see them take advantage of those IP ownerships. So I hope they do a little bit more of that.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing here. They're just exploring some of those older titles that might not have done gangbusters before, but have potential elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen that with stuff like Everybody's Golf and stuff. Like, to me, I think that fits really well on something like a Switch 2. So I mean, I 100% get that. But yeah, like I said, to your next point, because I know you're gonna read that. Yeah, I know what Everborn is saying, and like I said, I believe it wouldn't hurt them now. What I believe would happen is that it would hurt PlayStation 6, and you don't want you basically want this trend on this map that you're showing to continue when PlayStation 6 comes, and you need to continue to offer people the reason to get a PlayStation 6
and to stay within the ecosystem. That's the other thing, that stickiness that I've talked about on Twitter this week that folks don't understand. I mean, stickiness is a thing for all digital ecosystems. I'm going to read this other super chat here. Thank you again, Everboard, for the $5 super chat again. Appreciate it as always. Says, I'm not talking about day-and-date ports to Xbox. I'm saying I don't believe ports of older games will hurt the brand, as evidenced by the PC ports. I will say that PC is a neutral platform. I think I think PlayStation's even a bit hesitant to put those games day and date on PC out of the risk of people now who may have jumped to buy a PlayStation because they don't want to wait to play those games on PC. That's probably why they haven't put those games day and date. But the fact that matters is that PlayStation, PC being more of a neutral platform. Xbox is still a direct competitor in the console space. What's the incentive? What would incentivize PlayStation to release these older games to a rival platform again for a one-off sale when they would prefer to have that person jump over to PlayStation, lock that person in their ecosystem, and have them spend more money. And then there's Game Pass to contend with too. I mean, so I think that's more of a threat to PlayStation's current business model, and I think that's why they're not doing it.
Yeah, and to his point, I still think, because I've said this, right, as a someone who owns both, even that PC bleed over time is important, because there are definitely people who have, now whether or not they actually do is another thing, right? They, like, some people are like, oh, I'll wait, but we all know they secretly have a PlayStation and they platinum the game already. But again, that delay, one thing that I've explained this to people, the delay is important, and to never give an exact time frame. That's why I said 18 months to 2 years. And you need to wonder when that's going to happen, because I've explained this theory behind it to people. If you have kids, BRAP, and I think Kofi does too. If your child was sitting in a room and you guys just had cake, right? The cake's on the table, and you told the child, we can have cake when I come back, right? But you don't, it's an indeterminate amount of time, and you tell them, I'll be back in 30 minutes to 2 years. but you can have the cake when I come back, but they don't know when you're coming back, because you just gave them this crazy range, right? But if you told them, I'm gonna run to like the corner store real quick, I'll be back in 5 minutes, and then we can have cake. Well, the child no longer has any problem waiting, right? Like, because they're like, hey, in 5 minutes, I'm good to go. I know the exact time. In 5 minutes, we're gonna have cake and ice cream, or whatever, right? Like that's another consumer behavior tactic, where when someone doesn't know the amount of time something is going to take, or whether or not it's going to come at all, right? This is another important thing, right? Why I said Demon Souls, you can't play it anywhere else. Gran Turismo, you can't play it anywhere else. And several other titles, right? You
Returnal.
keep people guessing. Yeah, well, no, Returnal did come to PC.
Oh, that's right, it did come to PC. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it did come eventually. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to keep people guessing when these titles are coming. Make sure the delay is significant, though, regardless of when they do come. And like I said, even then, I still think it's a stretch to, kind of, they still have to be very careful with it, because, like I said, there are some people who have at least stated like they don't have any problem waiting till whenever that happens, and they'll just wait on PC. I'm personally not one of them. I think the majority of consumers who are into gaming as a hobby the way that we are not going to be waiting for a maybe, because like I said, it's a maybe, because Demon Souls is still not there. So all the titles are not being ported. So again, all these things are important to delay and tease people and make them want to get on the PlayStation console. And like you said, once you get them on there, BRAP, like I just stated, the two games I just purchased on sale on PlayStation, I could have purchased them on PC, and my PC is significantly more powerful. But again, like I said, to the games that I purchased, that is not a factor in performance difference on the PlayStation, and I'd prefer to play them there, because I like the ecosystem that I'm in with that, and so on and so forth. But I'm also, to Everborn's point about people wouldn't leave the platform now. If PlayStation, I've told people, if PlayStation went day and date with all their games for the upcoming generation for PS6, I wouldn't have a PlayStation 6.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't have a PlayStation at all. And then again, now Sony's lost me as a consumer, and all the amount of money, the dollars that I've spent inside their ecosystem, buying games off the digital storefront,
controllers,
yeah, peripheral device. I mean, like everything, like that is, yeah, microtransact, DLC. I mean, that is
all that money is gone.
It's just gone.
Yeah. Like I have a PlayStation Edge controller. I have 8 DualSense controllers.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff is from my PlayStation. Yeah, I have 8.
Hey, yo!
You have a lot.
I got 4. No, wait, 5? 5. Okay, actually, I do have more than I
thought.
But that's what I'm saying. And we have the PSVR 2. and we have two PS5 Pros, and like we also gave our PlayStation to our niece, who, like I told you,
PlayStation loves you as a consumer.
they
Yeah,
love me as a
I mean, they
consumer.
love me
Exactly.
too.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I'm the type of consumer they don't want to lose. And by putting your games day and date on PC, and
You're
promising
gone.
me all those games, yeah, I'm a lost customer. As someone who has been with the brand day one, I have owned every single PlayStation day one, from the PS1, PS2, PS3, so on and so forth. Even during the 360 generation, when everybody, before PlayStation took off, before they brought out Uncharted and Little Big Planet and all that stuff. Through that whole fire, when everybody was on 360, I was the PlayStation fan. Like, I just knew they had it in them. But that's what I'm saying. Like, someone who has been with you for literally the entire existence of the PlayStation, I'm telling you, the moment they do that, it's a wrap. And like, that's why I said, to his point about saying people won't leave the system, I'll definitely leave the system, because my PS5 Pro is not going anywhere. So I can continue to play all the titles that I had, all the titles available to me there, and my library is not going anywhere. But going forward, I will no longer put that investment up front into the system, and I would be PC only. And PC is becoming more and more easy to get people into. Like I said, I've built more PCs in the past few years for people, and people's kids, as well, so people's teenagers and so on and so forth. Because again, the other thing that's gotten more popular in all these years is streaming. All these kids want to be streamers. They say they idolize a bunch of these streamers that are big. They want a chance to try to become streamers. What do you need for that? Primarily a PC. So they're like, hey, if I can get a PC, I can still play all the games I want. I'm only going to be on PC, and that's where these people are investing. But like I said, as of right now, if they keep playing their cards the way they've been playing them, they'll be fine. And
Yeah.
they're still giving people a significant reason to purchase the next PlayStation, and that is what you don't want to lose, because that is what Xbox lost for me when their games went to PC day and date. And then people that told me it didn't affect it are now seeing a console go from 80 million sales to 35 million sales, and I'm like, it did affect it.
I remember the number one reason I wanted to migrate from the Xbox 360 to PS3 was, and this actually backfired on me, but I still left the Xbox ecosystem, was when Tales of Vesperia was announced to be ported to the PS3, which it never was in America. But I remember as soon as I saw that, and they had a new character and stuff like that, I was like, oh, well, I can get some cool new RPGs on the PS3. Forget it, I'm out of here. And then I
Yeah,
think that
there
was
you
around
go.
the time Demon Souls was released. So
Yeah.
crazy times.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab this super chat here. Everboard with the $5 super chat again. Thank you again, Everboard. Appreciate the support as always. Says regarding that chart, they cut off PS4 at 2019. They count everything after 2020 as PS5 generation. So yeah, no, I understand that. It's something we talked about, and I think the conversation was that, well, the PS4 is still an active console, but the generation ended 2019. The new generation started 2020. And everyone, this is actually a chart that PlayStation shared in one of their what was it? Forget what they call it. It's the company's game and network services business segment. It's a slideshow presentation from earnings reports that they present to investors. So what they're saying here is that, and this has actually been updated. If you look at the PlayStation generation, you'll see that the operating income has increased. And what's interesting about it, and it's the highest of the operating income for the PS5 of 2024 is higher than any previous PlayStation generation. And one of the things too that was noted was that hold on a sec here. There was something else that I wanted to pick up. So Sony's reporting the PS4 generation from fiscal 2013 through fiscal 2019. Okay. And that actually gives it 4 more years, or 3 or 4 more years than the PlayStation 5 generation, which spans from fiscal 2020 to fiscal 2023. So 4 years into PS4's life cycle. It's this is, I'm reading this article report by IGN, where they're reporting on this particular business segment meeting that PlayStation had. The PS5 generation companies, not just the PS5 itself, but everything the business is doing during this generation. But it's not shocking that the PS5 generation has been so lucrative for Sony. Even with all the asterisks above, the PS5 has sold 56 million units to date. Though the PS4 has outsold it significantly, 117 million at last count. The PS5 was more expensive at launch. We go to continued software spend throughout the shared life cycle of both has helped Sony's current console generation only grow in dollar sales, even if console generation is a little slow. Study reports both PS4 and PS5 can currently boast 49 million. Okay. Where was this other piece here? The presentation also points out that even with half the unit sales, PlayStation 5 life-to-date spend is significantly higher than the life-to-date spend on PS4. DLC content, services, and peripheral spend is up, but full content spending is down a little on PS5 compared to PS4. All this is to say is there was any doubt at all, the PlayStation 5 is doing pretty well. Unit sales are a helpful way to gauge play interest, but they don't tell the full story of how a company measures a console success. And again, the slide here is showing they're segmenting operating income based on each PlayStation generation. You'll see the dates of each the current life cycle gen of PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and currently PlayStation 5, which again is at 13 billion operating income, which is the highest of any PlayStation. Again, this is a slide presentation that's reported to investors, and something they presented in the last business segment update that they had. So anyhow,
well, my bad, guys. I think it's about time for me to roll out.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. I just realized what time it is. I gotta get rolling too. But I want to thank everyone in the live chat for a great discussion as always in the live chat. Everyone, I didn't see anything crazy, so thank you for keeping it civil. Appreciate all the super chats. Everyone, appreciate you coming through, and supporting the channel as always through super chats and hanging out with the live chat. And everyone, it's been a while since we had you on BRAP. We got to get you back on. It's been quite some time. It's funny. I actually came across an episode, Everborn, that you were on a couple years ago with the late great Optimus Code. Rest in peace, Optimus Code. So yeah, definitely like to get you back on BRAP sometime soon, Everborn. And to the current panel, Kofi and Nate, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you as always. And Kofi, it's great to finally get you back on. I know your schedule is kind of crazy, so
it is.
So thank you again, for jumping on. And Atlas Gods and Vanillaware Gods.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for inviting me back on. I love the style of your panel. It really kind of allows people to expound on their ideas. So I'm very excited to come back. We have some really cool new IPs coming out later this year. Just want to give a quick shout out to one game I'm really looking forward to called Hell is Us. I think it's going to be a sleeper hit for me. But also Innate, man, there's a lot of JRPGs I can't wait to circle back and reflect with you. I'm very curious where you're at in the Trail series, of course. And of course, we have a remake coming out September 19th. So I'm sure we'll have that conversation later this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Innate, I don't know if I'll get the platinum for Death Stranding 2, but I need it. If you could DM me the secret to building roads quickly in Death Stranding 2, I would greatly appreciate that.
yeah. There's definitely some optimal ways to get around it. I don't know if it's quickly, but some of the roads are definitely harder to get to than others, and I was pretty set in my ways at that point where I was like, wherever I'm going, I need a road, and then I got level 2 roads. And I was like, all right, wherever I'm going, I need a level 2 road. and it made a lot. It made a big difference.
Yeah,
So
you gotta DM me and let me know like what like if there's a shortcut. Kojima, if you were to offer uh pay to build roads, like buying materials, I would actually buy that for this game because I'm becoming a bit impatient trying to mine metals or I forget what the other materials you need for roads and Death Stranding too. But I
honestly,
don't.
the biggest thing I could tell you, and the easiest way to get around a lot of the material and stuff, is pushing to like chapter 8 in the game when you have most of the map, um, and then building out your infrastructure, but prioritizing farming chiral, because chiral is used for everything. So including when you want to mine like a gang of materials, um, use the chiral, and it costs like 800 to 1200 or sometimes 1600 chiral to pull out like 3200 metal or 3200 ceramic or something. So that was actually a big thing that helped me a lot, as I farmed chiral pretty early on, and at one point I had about 70,000 chiral, um, pretty early on, and that was a big help with get not only getting the roads and stuff up and running, but also keeping them up and repairing them as the gate quakes and stuff would happen, and uh, kind of mess up the roads. I never let a single road disappear after I built it. I always took time to go out of my way to go repair them and the easiest way to do that is having a lot of chiral, because chiral can repair anything, as opposed to you needing a specific material, like metal for roads, or special alloy for the rail system. So yeah, there's definitely an efficient way to do it, and yeah, we could definitely talk about that.
Yeah, please send me a DM later when you can, because
Absolutely.
yeah, I would I'd love to know how how to just I don't know be more efficient at building roads or something. I want to build more roads, but I'm like, come on, like this is killing me. Like Kojima, sell me metals, sell me ceramics, I'll buy them. I'll buy them.
Nah, I get you.
Monetization
I mean,
opportunity.
I'll have to see if you're. I don't even know if you're on my PlayStation friends list. I mean, that would
What?
help
We're
a
not we're
lot.
not we're not PlayStation friends?
I don't. What is your?
No,
What
I
is
think
your?
it's BRAP_7. I think we are.
Yeah, because I part of the thing you need to do is people are playing the game that are on your friends list. You need to go. There's a section under the strands where you can um, link to your friends specifically to start the strand, and that was something that we did that helped a lot. So like gradually, as Morgan was playing, because I started the strand, when I seen her first thing, her first thing in my world, like it was a generator, and I went back and I liked it like a ton, and it increased the strand to like 2, and then to 3, and the higher the strand, the more stuff and the more your worlds kind of combine and align. So then I started to see her name on certain roads and stuff like that. So people are playing, you definitely want to create that strand with them in game. So that's actually a really big tip
All right.
for anybody
Yeah,
that's
that's
playing.
right. Yeah, I need to check my friend. Just DM me your PlayStation ID and then I'll just double check, make sure I have it, that we're
Got
connected.
you.
Yeah, but no, Nate, thank you again for joining the show. And we'll be back next Wednesday, probably same time, 9 o'clock. The times are gonna differ. They're gonna differ depending on my schedule, either 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. But want to thank everyone in the live chat. Want to thank everyone for the super chats as well. Please do me a favor, do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe, hit the notification so you're alerted when we go live, and go play some video games and have fun doing so, because ultimately that's what it's all about. Thank you to the panel again, the guests, and we'll catch you next week.